The advances in machine vision I saw at a two-day event held by Nvidia, NVDA, in Washington last week could bring faster, surer responses to crime but may also dump far more of our everyday activities into databases that may not see much accountability. And many of the people behind this technology don't seem to be thinking too deeply about those risks. Neither do the elected officials in a position to do something about how law enforcement agencies employ these advances. In a demo during the keynote that opened the GTC conference Wednesday, an Nvidia GPU automatically classified a dense grid of overhead shots with labels like agriculture, baseball diamond, sparse residential, and tennis court at a rate of 563 images per second. At a later panel, Nvidia Global Business Development lead Adam Scraba showed how image recognition software from Avigilon can quickly find instances of a selected person in earlier footage. Wednesday afternoon, Vision Labs CEO Alexander Kanin bragged that his firm's face detection software, used by banks and social networks in other countries, was now handling 58 billion face recognition requests a year worldwide. In the exhibit area, a standard-issue webcam set up at WRNCH's table allowed its body slam software to model the movements of passers-by so as to detect such suspicious behavior as somebody carrying a gun. "If you can see it, we can understand it," CEO Paul Kraszewski said. "All these systems represent a technically impressive solution to a basic problem. There aren't enough humans to look through all the images and video our current array of security cameras already collect. The number of eyes looking at these cameras is extremely small," John Garafola, Senior Advisor for Information Access Programs at the Department of Commerce's National Institute for Standards and Technology, said in a panel Thursday. They also represent a triumph of both coding and teaching, something GPU conference speakers emphasized. Machine learning algorithms aren't born knowing what a car, a cop, or a criminal might look like, so they have to be exposed to real-world examples. "I'm not sure any company in the world has more robbery videos than 7-Eleven, CEO Sean Hoover said in a presentation. "It's been a goldmine for what we do. Other times, it's not." Commonwealth Computer Research found the best way to train its street analysis software to spot cars, cyclists, and pedestrians was to feed it footage from the Grand Theft Auto V video game, which both offers high-resolution imagery for AI software to digest and lets coders script the action. When asked about the privacy risks in these systems, many of these developers and executives sounded too much like the architects of social networks like Facebook, FB, and Twitter, TWTR, which designed them without considering the inevitability of abuse. "We're a platform provider," Nvidia's Scraba said towards the end of his presentation. "We can't necessarily control how some of this is being used." At another table in the exhibit area, Entropic's Chief Product Officer Nathan Wheeler shrugged off concerns about an upcoming test in Moscow of the firm's image enhancement software on more than 100,000 cameras. "Will it be abused?" he asked. "Probably." Comparing his employer to a gun manufacturer, he said he preferred to think of the potential lives saved by automated systems that could detect plots against next year's World Cup in Russia, than might later spot a child getting abducted in America. "I can't wait until an Amber Alert is an obsolete thing," he said. It's true that advances in processing power can protect privacy in some cases. For instance, Nvidia's Scraba suggested that ever smaller GPUs could do all the required processing at the camera itself, leaving no centralized database of clips. The video never leaves the machine or even gets stored. But selecting that kind of option, or similar ones like using software to blur the faces of innocent people, would be up to the agency or the company using the camera and the code behind it. Law enforcement agencies, meanwhile, are moving ahead with real-world deployments. The Department of Homeland Security wants vendors to provide face detection systems to scan foreigners crossing the U.S. border in cars, while the bullet point list of features for the reborn Pennsylvania station in New York includes video facial recognition technology. Individual states have taken steps to control what governments can do with data they already have, such as driver's license photo databases. but at the federal level, we seem to be left at the mercy of technology vendors and law enforcement agencies. That leaves tech vendors in charge. Do we need to see how that's going to play out? More from Rob. Email rob@, follow him on Twitter at @robguerrero.